Hey guys, um, this video might be a little bit sloppy. It doesn't have any like traditional technicals, I would say. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But I was just looking at the structure of the chart since our big May pop, and I noticed a common shape using a certain type of metrics. So this is the shape. It's kind of it's like a W in the Special Olympics. It's not perfectly symmetrical, but that's essentially what I found, where you have kind of a long arm, midpoint, and then a short arm with two lows. So there's certain data that I used to go into the integrity of these structures. So the first low of the structure is lower than the second low. The first high is higher than the second high. And then when you move on to the next structure, the first low is higher than the previous first low of the previous structure. And then the first high of the next structure is lower than the previous first high. Um, on top of that, both of the highs in your structure will close outside all of the moving averages on the EMA, the 20, 50, 100, 200. And then the first and second high of the structure will both have happened when the MACD is crossed on the zero line. I know that's kind of a lot of gobbledygook, but we'll just go through it real quick. So obviously here you have your high. You have the low of your downside, which right here. And then you hit your midpoint, which is your next high of your upside. And then you hit the next low, lowest low of your downside. And then the next highest high of your upside. So obviously you'll notice that this low is lower than this low. And this high is higher than this high. So then we just move on to the next structure. So this is our high. Right here is our low. And then we have our high, which is our midpoint, our next highest high of this upside. And then we go to the downside for our next lowest low. And then when we have our upside, our next highest high. And obviously you notice again that this high is higher than this high. And this low is lower than this low during the day, not how it closed. So then we go to the next one. We have our high here. We have our lowest low during our downside. And then we have our midpoint of our upside. Right here, our highest high of our upside. And then we come down, we have this. And then now we have the upside. So the reason that I believe this type of shape to continue is that you had your downside, you had your pop, you have your downside, you have your pop again. If this wasn't the case, this would have puked and died and done something stupid, or you would have seen your upside and then you would have seen some nonsense. But the fact that it's essentially perfectly symmetrical with these other shapes and you've started your upside leads me to believe that you're going to see a completion of this pattern in one way or another. Um, you have your cross on your MACD already. So we're obviously looking for that move upward. And then, like I said before, this closes above all your moving averages. This closes above all your moving averages. This closes above all of them. And so, since we've started that upside, I'm expecting a move to close above all these moving averages and have the MACD cross zero. It's started too much of the pattern to break down, in my opinion. I think this would look completely different at one of these checkpoints, here, here, or here. But the fact that it's 80% through completing the structure leads me to believe that it's just going to complete it again. And beyond that, I just have some symmetry that I thought was pretty cool at these touch points. So this low to this low, 24 bars. This low to this low, 24 bars. This low to this low, 17 bars. And then from this low to this low is 9 bars, which is essentially half. So, 9 times 2. and then but not quite. And then from this low to this low is 20 bars, which is essentially double, but not quite, just like how it was for the 17. So, um, all that being said, it's not like the most bullish news because even though I'm expecting a close above all of these EMAs, you know, that could just be like 12, 22 and change. Um, so like in the very, and look where we are right now. You know, we're very close to doing that. So like in the very short future, I am bullish, and I've been um, looking like how not to make a case for our huge move and how to make a case for it. And I'm working on that right now, but I just wanted to get this out there. I thought it was pretty interesting. I'm sure this has some flaws, but the symmetry of the distance between bars actually really solidified my opinion. Um, but yeah, so you'll have uh, your first arm is always longer than your second arm. By the way, that's an important part, and that's another thing. Like this arm is much longer than this arm as far as distance from one price to another. This arm is much longer than this arm from one price to another. Like, doesn't it just doesn't seem out of the realm of possibility to blast through this. 24 to 19. Like $25 sounds extremely doable, and then maybe like you'd see like a gap on Monday or something. Um, but yeah, I just thought it was interesting. May or may not be worth sharing, but it's what I've been looking at since we kind of have all that traditional data out there. But yeah.